In this video, we're going to discuss simple interest and the formula that we use when we are trying to calculate simple interest. Interest is something that we often see at the bank. If you have a savings account, you can gain interest on an account. If you have a credit card and you don't pay the bill the first month, then each month until you do pay it, it gains interest, or an extra fee basically for not paying it on time. So you were given this sheet in class, and we kind of filled in each of the pieces of the formula, what each variable means. So if you do not have this filled in, take a second, pause the video, and go ahead and fill it in so that you do have it in your notes. And what we're going to do is complete a couple examples using this formula. So here we go. This first example, it says find the simple interest, round to the nearest cent. And I want you to keep in mind when I say round to the nearest cent, I'm always rounding to the hundredths place. And they give us three numbers here. So my first job is to figure out which number goes for which variable. So we know we have P, which stands for the principal, or the original amount of money. We have R, which is the interest rate, and that one is given as a percent, and we have to change it into a decimal. And then we have T, which is the time. And the important thing about time is we always want to convert it into years when I put it into my formula. So I'm going to go through, and I know that P is always a dollar amount, so I'm going to label this one as the principal. My rate is always the percentage, so this will be R. And T is always the time. Now 3 months, I don't want to put a 3 in because that would be reading as 3 years. So I have to figure out 3 months is what portion of a year. And I know that there's 12 months in a year. So 3 months out of a possible 12 is either 1/4 of a year, so I could put it as the fraction 1/4, or it's also equivalent to the decimal 0.25. So I'm going to use one of these quantities when I write out my equation. So here we go. In order to find the simple interest on this account, I would take 2,500, which is the principal. I'm going to change my percentage into a decimal, and I do that by moving the decimal point 2 times to the left, which would create the decimal 0.0675. And then I'm going to multiply that, sorry about that, times the time. And I'm going to choose to use the decimal 0.25. So if we put that in our calculator, 2,500 times 0.0675 times 0.25, we get a total of 42.1875. And now I have to think about how I'm going to round to the nearest cent or to the hundredths. The 8 sits in the hundredths place, and the number right next to it is a 7, which tells me the 8 will bump up. So this will round to $42.19. And since it's money, we'll label it with a dollar sign. The question goes one step further, and it asks, well, what's the total balance? And what that means is if you originally had $2,500 in your account and you earned an additional $42.19, then what do you currently have? And I can figure that out very simply by adding these two numbers together. And I would figure out that I now have $2,542.19. Here's another similar example. Again, I want to identify what is the principal, what is the rate, what is the time. So the principal is the amount of money I start off with. The rate is the percentage. And the time is the years. So I equals P times R times T. So P is 1,000 times R, 4.5% as a decimal is 0.045. And this time my years is already years. I don't have to change anything. So I'm just going to substitute that in as a 2. And I'm going to multiply these three numbers together, and I get 90. So that tells me that I have earned $90 in interest. Again, the balance is just asking for the total, so I take what I originally had, my principal, and I add to that the interest that I earned for a total balance of $1,090. What I'd like you to do right now is pause the video and try these two problems, and then when you are ready, come on back and we can see if you got them right. Okay, so in the first problem, what you should have done is identified 2,250 as the principal, 6% is the rate, and 4 years is the time. So we should multiply 2,250 times 0.06 times 4, and you will get $540 as your interest. And then for your total balance, you end up with a balance of $2,790. For the second problem, $400 is your principal. Your rate as a decimal is 0.0425. And then your time, 30 months, if I divide that by 12, I get 2.5 years. So 400 times 0.0425 times 2.5 means that we gain $42.50 in interest. So my balance, I add together what I originally had, 400, plus the 42.50, and I find out that I now have $442.50, and I just want to make sure that I label that with a dollar sign. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know.